big pupper. And you have to actually talk to humans in flesh space. Big mood there, Alex. I agree with you. But, sometimes it can help. It's easier to talk about things sometimes than type it out. I reluctantly say that because I do tend to agree with you that virtual discussions can be preferable to actually interacting with people in certain situations. But
if I were at my computer right now, I literally have a GIF of a skeleton being like, "I'm afraid to talk on the phone."
Yeah, but one thing I've realized with gardening and
strips, by the way, right?
Yeah, okay. And trying to, you might want to get those seeds out before you cut up the rest, though. Gardening in particular is hard to Google and talk about online because gardening is a very visual thing in terms of like, unless you're really familiar with being able to identify plants by the shape of their leaves or the design of their flowers, it can be difficult to know what people are talking about. If you want to say, okay, how do I grow tomatoes? That's great. But if you want to be like, what are the best plants, like ornamental flowers to grow they'll grow readily in my region and will look pretty in this flower bed, and how do I arrange them? That's a tough thing to answer online. You kind of have to go and talk to someone who knows, who can show you this plant and you'll plant it in this way. It makes it very difficult. So it depends on what kind of gardening advice you're looking for, but sometimes it can actually be easier to talk in person, as unpleasant as that can be. Hatch chilies can be spicy or not spicy. They actually have varieties for both. I bought mild hatch chilies, but these actually do have a little bit of a bite to them. The spicier ones are probably... These, I would say, are like low-end jalapeno spicy, whereas the spicy ones, if I got those, they'd probably be high-end serrano spicy.
I would say that these have like a literal mild spice to them,
They do,
where
yes.
Usually when you see mild on a package, that means no spice.
Right, yeah. Sometimes mild means like bell pepper, like sweet pepper, i.e. no spice. But this does actually have a little bit of spice to it, which makes sense. Like, I think there is a difference between mild, which you want to expect a little bit of a bite to it, and sweet, which is like no spice.
Yeah, no, I am thinking of maybe perhaps getting a new bicycle because I have been cycling for 2 months. And every time I get into a hobby, I'm like, hey, how can I waste money on this?
It's not wasting money if you enjoy it.
And the current bike that I have is from a bike shop that got bought out by one specific bike brand. And the category of bike I'm looking for is called a gravel bike. It's basically a road bike with thicker tires so that you can ride on dirt roads.
How many C's in that thick tire?
Thick. Not that many. It's like one C with no K.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's meant for like gravel, not mountains. And it's really expensive if I went to our current bike shop to buy one of them. They're like, we're new to this category and our bikes are really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, oh, maybe I should just like go with this bike company I know and buy one of these. And as I've been reading about it a little more and asking some of my cycling friends for advice, it turns out if I walk into literally any other bike shop in town, there can be like, oh yeah, here's one for half the price.
Really?
Uh-huh.
So say that again in like concrete brands and terms that I might know what you're referring to.
We've been buying Trek bikes,
Yes.
and Trek has very good bicycles. We both enjoy ours.
Yes.
But if I wanted to buy a gravel bike from Trek, it's a new category that they haven't done a ton in.
Okay, so they're still expensive.
So it's like $2,000 plus.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, they have bikes that cost up to like $8K.